Welcome back to the upper tier, folks. The football podcast we bring you each and every day, nearly at this stage, out there on YouTube. Smash that subscribe and bell notification button, and of course, like and share the content. Nice little show tonight we have for you, where we're going to be doing a quick review of the year 2022. We're going to be just chewing the fat and talking about our highlights and lowlights and whatever we really want to bring up. It's just a show for you guys as well out there in the chat. If you want to jump on or if you want to come on, I can share the link in the chat if anyone wants to come on and talk about what their football and highlights were for the year, one or two of them, and lowlights. As always, joining me, my co-host, back again, as they say, the Dazzler. How are we?
Making my triumphant return, Niall.
Yes, again.
Busy time of the year and all that.
I've
Hoping
been
to
paid.
hoping to stay hoping to
I've been
stay injury free now for a few weeks.
yeah, back from the AR room. Yeah, I've been paving a lonely road, all right, for a couple of weeks at this stage now, but I've been holding it together as best I could. Let's say.
You've been doing a great
Um,
job, pal, as always.
Thanks very much. Thanks for the pat on the back there. Thanks. um, where do we begin? I suppose. I mean, there's so much has happened this last year. It was a fantastic year for football, really. Um,
Absolutely.
Culminating in an unbelievable World Cup that none of us could have foreseen with the
No.
wave of hate. Um, but also, we kind of rounded out the year on a sad note where we lost Pele, the greatest. Um, very, very sad. But yeah, where do we begin? There was football, there was controversy, there was talk of a quad at one stage. Dare I
Crazy
say?
crazy talk. Crazy talk.
Crazy talk of a quad. Oh, what a difference a season makes, huh?
I'm telling you.
As they say. Where to begin? What do you want to begin with? Where shall we begin? I'll tell you where
I,
I
s-
begin.
do you know
I
where we
started
should begin?
uh,
Do you know where we should begin?
at the start.
Because if you think all the way back to kind of that January and stuff like that, we've got to kick off with the AFCON, don't we?
Well, before we kick off with the AFCON, where when I was thinking about this show the other night, and I was trying to pull together. Obviously, we're not going to detail out every single footballing
No.
event and stuff like that. But the first thought I had, I started in January, and early in January, I was up in the gym training, and I was on an exercise bike, and there was a couple of TVs in front of me, and what flashes up on TV? Mason Greenwood had been arrested. That's how the
Yes.
year kind of kicked off, and that was kind of the craziness of that, and how it's unfolded out through the whole year and stuff like that, and the whole prolonged situation and stuff like that. But that was kind of my, apart from the Afcon, and of course we covered the Afcon. Some would say for our sins, some would say for our dedication. Um, but yeah, the Afcon,
Mason didn't have a great year, did he?
no, no, no,
He sure
absolutely not.
didn't.
Um, but we're not going to delve into it too much, of course, because it all is ongoing. But yeah, that was my first one. I thought of January. I thought there I was in the gym. I couldn't believe it. This guy who should have had a sensational career in football, was a sensational footballer and stuff like that, and just fell off the cliff. Basically, this all came out, and um,
Very, very sad for a lad of his age,
mm,
and as we say, he had the footballing world at his feet, so to speak.
yeah,
I just think, it's still such a delicate situation, because there's so much more that we need to find out and know about the situation before we can kind of, make a call on this and stuff like that. And I've kind of said this from day one, and you know that from talking behind the scenes with me. I don't think
mm,
it's been a rough year, I'm sure, for the lad. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there won't have any sympathy for him, but I think there's a lot we need to find out about what happened in this incident before we can kind of cast any aspersions on the lad or on what happened and stuff like that, you
mm,
know?
yeah. Yeah, I think for me it was more funny enough, and I'm a Liverpool fan, but it was the shock of it, like, because it kind of
Yeah,
came out of
absolutely.
nowhere, and I was just doing a session in the gym, and I seen it, and it actually stopped me in my tracks, and I went, "Oh my god, how are they going to handle all this now?" And then to see
Yeah,
the other thing is kind of weird as well, to see the legal system and the way it drags it on a bit. Um,
yeah.
it's kind of very protracted, isn't it, for a young lad like him? And I'm not taking any side here at all.
No,
Um,
no.
But either way, it should be sorted out a lot quicker
No,
now.
I
It's
mean, like
shouldn't
we're almost a year on, and what do we know
it?
from what we knew on the first day that it was kind of announced? Nothing or very little.
Yeah. Mm,
You know,
yeah.
there's been so little. You know, we know we made a couple of court appearances and stuff like that,
Mm,
and other than that, it's been a very slow process for him and for the victim, as we say. You know what I mean?
mm,
But it was massive for United at that stage because I think obviously under Ralph Rangnick at that stage, Wreck-It Ralph as he was formerly known, United were struggling and Greenwood was one of the shining lights in our team.
mm.
Um, and then all of a sudden the plug was pulled like that, so it was difficult. And I think a lot of the lads probably felt that in the back end of last season. You know, we talked about Lingard and Radford, who are very, very close friends with him and stuff, and didn't have great ends to the season and stuff like that. Now that can be down to obviously form, confidence, but I'd imagine things like that are going to play in your mind if your mate who plays alongside you is looking at getting a stretch as well. You know, that type of thing. So it's
Yeah, and
difficult.
it's especially when you kind of take some sort of a side in a situation like this, it becomes very judgmental and stuff like that either
Yeah,
way. So it was a difficult situation for a guy. And it'd be a very difficult situation for a guy who you would call a close friend and a colleague and stuff like that. And suddenly
absolutely.
this comes out and it came out of nowhere and you kind of weren't aware. I assume they weren't aware of it and stuff like that. But it was just
No, 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 no.
Will Parker, we won't spend too long on it, but that was kind of my January, and then we went into the AFCON. Morris is in the comments. The heel is never far, is he? The heel is never far. I love to hear Darren's take on Cody Gakpo. I know he's a big admirer of the lad. He was indeed. Um,
I'm still
I,
listen. I'm still a big admirer of the kid. It's just unfortunate for me now. He's going to be pulling on the wrong jersey. Um, I nailed me flag to the mat very early on with this lad. I made the assumption that we'd have this deal stitched up before January. I know obviously he'd spoken to Ten Hag, and I think he was told, listen, wait, and we'll get this deal done come January. And then obviously with the money we outlaid last summer, there
yeah,
wasn't enough left in the coffers, and with financial fair play and that, I think he's told him he had to wait till the summer again, and Liverpool have jumped to the head of the queue and taken a great player off the market. So all power to Liverpool. United's lost is their gain.
Yeah, I was explaining to Morris when myself and yourself were on WhatsApp, and of course the news broke that it was more or less a done deal and all this.
Yeah.
And every time I sent you a screenshot, it was, oh no, it's still not done. And Fabrizio Romano, no, it's still not done. And then out came the director from PSV, no, it's still not done. And all this, and then it was announced, and then it was done. So yeah, it was crazy, but it was fun on WhatsApp as well. Like we have to say, we did have a laugh about it.
There's a little bit of banter goes back and forth in there.
Yeah, who knows how he's going to turn out? Just sickens me that Liverpool takes so long then to register him and he couldn't play tonight. Surely they were all working yesterday because the window opened yesterday.
It was a registration issue that they didn't get him on.
Apparently it was a paperwork or registration issue or something like that. I heard. Yeah, so bit of a sickener. Could have done with him tonight. Could have done with a bit of flair and a bit of talent on the pitch.
We both could have done with him tonight. What our
Yeah,
viewers don't know is Liverpool let me down for almost a grand tonight
right.
in a bet we had. So can't say I'm over the moon with that if I'm honest. Like, but I had
As
Liverpool and both teams to score. Saw Brentford went 1-0 up. I went, yes, this is what we want. Liverpool come back now, make this 2 or 3-1, put them to bed, game set match. Boy,
if
did I
you
get that memo wrong.
if you want to make money on Liverpool this season, just do both teams to score because we're coughing up goals for fun at the moment. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, let's begin. So January, yeah, the AFCON. Senegal, Sadio Mane was the man who stepped up. But we'd such fun covering it, didn't we? Between
Yeah, we
no
did. It
disrespect to
was
anyone, but the
not
colour,
at all.
the culture, trying to pronounce the names, the refereeing was such a
Absolutely.
debacle. But
The
it
refereeing
culminated in
was the refereeing was almost the highlight of it. Was so poor, wasn't it? I think
yeah,
you'd see
absolutely.
better down in St. Anne's Park or the Phoenix Park on a Saturday and Sunday. It was absolutely laughable, the refereeing decisions were, but it was very good fun. A fiesta or a festival of football, I think we was what we described it as,
Yeah,
and it was great for African football. And I think you can see from if we look at the end of the year and the beginning of the year,
yeah,
African football is on the up and up, man. Um,
absolutely, absolutely.
Really, really is. If you look, I know Pele made a prediction a number of years ago that he felt like the World Cup would make it to Africa. An African holder by kind of the year 2000, and he's a bit out. But I'd say, listen, the next couple of renewals of the World Cup, if some of the African nations keep improving, player wise, they've definitely got the ability there. I think now it's down to the smaller details. I think it's down to making sure they've got the best coaches and the best medical staff and things like this. Because I think
Sports science.
all of that,
Yeah,
yeah,
sports science.
absolutely. I think that's
Yeah.
where they need to catch up a little bit. Because I think if you look at what's on the pitch, they've got some of the best players in the world. They really, really do.
And they've got great fan base as well. Great
Their
following, great fan
supporters are
base.
amazing,
Yeah, I
really
mean
amazing.
these players are revered as gods when they go home and stuff like that to Africa and
Absolutely,
all.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
it was a fantastic competition. Obviously, it was marred obviously by those people who lost their lives in that tragic incident as well and stuff like that. But it was fantastic for Senegal as well, and kind of fitting for Sadio Mane, um, and tough for of course Mo Salah and Egypt, who kind of.
Was the Battle of Merseyside at that stage, wasn't it?
It really was, but I suppose it was fitting that Mane won it, because I think Senegal were the better team in the tournament overall. I think.
I think
Um,
so. I don't think they relied as heavily on Mane as Egypt did. I mean, literally every time Egypt got the ball, it was where's Mo getting the ball and hope.
mm,
Whereas at least with Senegal, you had a couple of other players, Ismail Assar and the boy Diakate, and a few of the boys that could, chip in with goals here and there and stuff like that and help you get over the line. But I think with Egypt, they were very much it was a one man gang, and it was Mo trying to drag them over the line.
yeah, I like the way you say one man gang, and then we alert into our pro wrestling and we talk about a team, the African dream.
Very good.
Morris back in the comments. Graham Potter sacked, and then he goes, "Sorry, just practicing." Morris quality. Good clean sheet for Liam Cooper yesterday, Darren. Do you reckon
It
Morris
was,
is clipping all your content and he's just writing notes down all weekend as it
and
unfolds or something like
And
that?
you know what? It was, and I have to give the devil his dues because obviously Cooper coughed up a couple at the weekend as well.
Yeah.
And Morris was on straight away and he was like, "That's your man that you tear strips off every week." He says, "You called that lad out weeks ago." He said, "Now he's fumbling." Well, of course, he's come out with a clean sheet now, and I've got to take it on the chin. But that's how it goes, Morris.
Absolutely.
You know
Um,
yourself.
so then we get into I suppose where do we begin then? The Ukraine, the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. Um,
Mental.
and at and at the time it heavily affected us in terms of prices of petrol at the pumps and stuff. But
Yeah,
we didn't realise it would have such far-reaching consequences for our Chelsea fans on the channel and stuff like that, and Chelsea Football Club.
we sure
It was
didn't.
mental. What was your
Yeah,
what was you
it's
thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I suppose at the time you're kind of looking at this situation and it's so volatile, and you're wondering, how far does this go? And obviously, now we're not we're not miles away from it being a year ago, and this conflict is still going on. There's still shells and bombings day in day out in the Ukraine, so it's very tough for their people. They've had such a difficult year, and we know so many have been scattered across Europe and stuff like that. Um, and it's very very difficult. But I don't think football kind of saw the what was going to happen there with Chelsea and stuff like that, and Abramovich and the consequences there and stuff like that. And that was huge. I think to begin with, even when we spoke about it in our own WhatsApp group and things like that, there was a little bit of jest that went with it that Roman's going to be in trouble now, but I don't think any of us really thought Roman was going to be in trouble. And then the
Yeah,
embargo hit, and then the transfers, and then now you're being told to sell the club, and you're kind of going, someone's going to rein this in here somewhere. And then bids are being tabled, and it's snowballing, and they're looking at a preferred bidder, and you're going, this is happening here. And we spoke about Roman quite a bit over the years and about how good an owner he was.
yeah,
We don't, this isn't a political show or anything like that, so we're not going to get into too much like that. But we're certainly going to talk about him as an owner because I think as football club owners go, he was right up there, at the top table. He really
yeah.
was. He was everything you would want from an owner of your club. Um, and it was just so strange and tough for Chelsea fans because obviously when he leaves, you've got Bowley coming in and the restructure and stuff like that, and then it's not working with Thomas Tuchel, and then he appoints Graham Potter, and you're looking at the squad, and the squad's in rag order, like it's just so all over the place, and they're buying players for positions that they've got too much cover in, and then they've got no cover, and you're just thinking this is like
Mm.
Chelsea at the minute is it's chaotic to say the least.
A mess. A
It
mess.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
really
mess.
really chaotic, you know.
Yeah. Mm.
And it's going to take them a little while to iron this out. I think. I personally don't see, Graham Potter as the issue here. I think, the structure of Chelsea has to be worked on first. And I know obviously they've done some deals lately to get the lads in behind the scenes that were involved in the Red Bulls and stuff like that. So they've addressed a little bit of that, but it's going to take a little bit of time. And they need to address the squad, not necessarily just throw money at it willy nilly. But be clever in how they build their squad, and make sure they've got good players and they've got a couple of players in each position and stuff like that, and just try and find a much better balance to the squad, because I don't think it's there at the minute. Now they've got some super footballers at the club, they really do. We know that, and they're going to make some huge signings in the next 6 months. The boy Benoit Badiashile is on the way in from Monaco. That looks like it's almost done. That's 35 million. Very much in the Upamecano and the Kanate mold. That big physical centre back, but very, very athletic and stuff like that as well. I think he'll do wonders for Chelsea. I really do.
Yeah,
I
looks a
think
great. He looks a great fit for Chelsea, doesn't he? Looks a great fit
great
for
fit. I
Chelsea.
think
Mm.
Koulibaly's been excellent. I think he's been really,
Mm.
really good. He's been one of the shining lights. You've got Wesley Fofana to come back. I mean, that's that's a serious back three if that's the way Chelsea go, with a
Mm.
Reece James on one side and a Mark Cucurella on the other side.
Mm.
Like you've got two great wing backs there, three really solid centre backs, and then you start building up the pitch. I think Kepa's done quite well for them, and then
Come
if you
back
look
in,
at
yeah.
the boy in Kunku who's going to come in and stuff like that in the summer, I think,
Electric.
brighter days are around the corner for Chelsea. It's
Mm.
going to be a slow burn for now, but I think, when they get all their ducks in order, I think Chelsea could have a big season next season.
Yeah, I think it's probably a couple of points out of it. One, Roman going the way he did was quite a sad end to his tenure in terms of how such an owner that he was and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But I suppose when you look at Chelsea as well, you've got a squad there at the moment that's a mix of 3 or 4 managers.
yeah.
So naturally it's not going to gel together. And there's times when they play and they look pretty good. And then there's other times where they just look like they've never played together and stuff like that. And I think it's going to take Potter at least 2 to 3 windows, to kind of
And you
settle it down
just
and fix it.
you just probably touched on something there that, that encapsulates the whole thing for me. Certain managers want to play certain styles, and they will always buy players to fit their style.
Mm.
Now, at the minute, Potter's trying to play a particular style with players that don't fit that style. Very,
Yeah.
very tough to do. We've seen it happen at other clubs before. I think when you get the likes of Fofana, Koulibaly, the boy Badiashile, like that's a serious, serious back three. And with the wing backs, we know Potter likes to play a five. He gets some really, really good midfielders in there. I fully, fully, fully expect the boy Caicedo to end up there, and possibly Alexis McAllister as well. And then, Nkunku, another couple big things for Chelsea
Mm.
in the not so distant future.
Should we believe this?
No,
You're not believing it. I'm not believing
absolutely not.
it.
Absolutely not.
An Arsenal fan feeling sorry for
And
Chelsea.
Arsenal,
Oh, chance.
yeah,
An Arsenal fans feeling sorry for Chelsea. Then where do we go next? The Lionesses, of course, roar to victory, and fantastic victory for them.
brilliant,
Um,
brilliant. It's been a huge year for women's football.
Absolutely, yeah,
It's
massive.
been a it's and I not that women's football wasn't doing very very well, but I mean the way it's kind of catapulted it to the forefront of sport in the UK and
Mm.
stuff like that. You
Yeah.
see, obviously, Beth Mead winning the Sports Personality of the Year and stuff like that. It's huge. And the attendance has skyrocketed
Mm.
with the Super League games, the Women's Super Leagues games, the WSL, or
Mm.
Ireland then reaching the World Cup and stuff like that. It's just gone bananas. It really, really has. But it's great. I mean, there's been a lot of hard work and a lot of groundwork done on the women's game for years, and it
Mm.
wasn't necessarily getting the payback that it deserved. But But now it's heading in the right direction, and more power to them and fair play to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, our resident referee, who does be on, always brings up the women's game and women's players and stuff like that. He follows
Absolutely,
it
he's a big
religiously.
supporter of the women's game. Yeah, he
And
sure is.
we have to give a big shout out to Marky as well, himself and Yvonne, on the birth of their baby there the other day as well. So congratulations to both of them as well. Marky be back on soon.
Have we had a new one?
Yeah, we had another one there the other day. He had another girl.
Ah,
So
good man.
he's houseful.
Congratulations, guys.
Yeah, he might have been trying to balance the books there. He's been overshadowed by all these women now in the house and stuff like that.
That's it. That's a nice. Was it this year or was it last year now?
We sent it to me the other. It's last year. It's last year. He sent it to me the other day. They had it there the other day and stuff like that. So
Nice
fair
way to
play
end
to
the
him.
year.
Yeah, absolutely. And he had only moved
Yeah.
house as well. So moving house and having a baby.
He's had a pretty good 2022, our resident referee, hasn't he?
He has, yeah, absolutely.
New house and a new addition to the family. Congratulations, folks. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything there you want to bring up before I move on to some more stuff?
Yeah, I suppose for me, one of the things that got me this year was the Amazon documentary, the Arsenal one.
Yeah.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I was engrossed in it. I really, really was. Kind of, I suppose timing with these things is really, really important. And obviously when we got the Spurs one, you had the whole thing where Pochettino was sacked and, they took on Mourinho and stuff like that. So the timing of it was epic. And now then at Arsenal, you see,
that Danny Rose, that Danny Rose moment.
That Danny Rose moment.
golden. We'll never forget it.
Yeah, and then to watch the Arsenal one, and see how Arteta was trying to build his squad, and the way even the directors were getting on board behind the scenes, Josh Kroenke and stuff like that, and Edu, and I really, really enjoyed it. I have to say, It did endear Arsenal to me a little bit, and the way they're trying to do things at the club, and then obviously you see this year they've come out like an absolute train. And it doesn't shock me. I think Mikel Arteta is doing a phenomenal job at Arsenal. I think they're still building. I think that 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, a lot of people were kind of saying, "Oh yeah, they won't hang on. They'll blow it up. They'll blow it up." Arsenal could absolutely 110% win this league title this season. They're going game to game. It's very kind of symmetrical to how Leicester won the league. Where people just thought they're gonna falter, and then they started beating the teams around them and puffing up that advantage that they had. And that's what Arsenal have done so far. They've been so good. They've only lost once in the league, and that was to us. So just throw that in there. On our way home from Cardiff, if you remember that trip, remember that boat ride home, Niall?
Absolutely.
But that was like it's been so good. I think the Amazon, I really loved it. I'd be looking forward to seeing the next installment, so to speak, and which club we go to next,
Yeah, Morrison, he's doing a great job because the squad is so thin, but the 11 on the pitch are nailing it. Yeah, absolutely. And even after losing Jesus and all, and Eddie and Keddy are coming in and all, and people being questionable about that, he's been fantastic and stuff like that.
I watched the Brighton game the other night. I can't remember who was commentating on it, but they just spoke about how everybody lauded Gabriel Jesus for his all-round play and his work rate and stuff like that. But the goals weren't coming. He'd gone through a goal drought. He'd gone 5 or 6 games without a goal. Eddie's work rate is nowhere near Gabriel Jesus's. But what Eddie can do is Eddie can put the ball in the back of the net, and that at times can be priceless. And he's got the Sakas, and he's got the Martinellis, and he's got the Odegaard, and and by the way, if Arsenal win a league title, right, we made an awful lot of fun of this guy, but if Arsenal win a league title, I'm not going for Granit Xhaka. Thomas Partey could be the player of the season. He has been absolutely amazing. Like, amazing. He really, really has. Eddie knows where the goals is, and he'll just keep putting these chances away if he's given them.
Yeah, Eddie has more goals than Aubameyang now. Just saying. Speaking of documentaries.
That does not shock me.
Well, before we go any further, me and you were big fans of Mikel Arteta when there was a lot of noise in the background from Arsenal fans that we were crazy.
That's right. That's right.
I also made the point, and I made the point to Morris the other day as well, that I was very high on Martin Odegaard when everyone was calling him Wodegaard. and he's an exceptional player. And that's starting to see that benefit there now as well.
I'm
Um,
I'm still really high on Darwin Núñez, and I know everybody thinks I'm off me rocker, but like this kid has every attribute you would want from a footballer. Things aren't going well right now. Will he come good? 100% he will. You know, when he starts putting chances away and stuff like that, and the confidence levels are up, and everyone around him is playing better, he'll be phenomenal. This kid, phenomenal.
I've never seen a striker to go through a time where every time he takes a shot, it comes off someone's shoulder or someone's arse or the post. I mean, he must be scratching his head going, "What do I have to do to put the ball in the back of the net?" Like even the
Scores
other night
earlier
against
on and the
Leicester,
offside, and you're like,
the
Jesus.
run the run against Leicester the other night, and then he clips it over the keeper, and of course it hits the post. Now I know the Leicester player put it in the back of the net. We sent him a few quid. Good lad, that fast lad. But yeah, no mad. Um, Morris in the comments, Nunes has just been unlucky. Yeah, absolutely. Morris, by the way, while you're in there as well, let us know your highlights this year or something like that, or let us know your thoughts and stuff like that.
I know this is gonna be a sore subject, but I put some highlights down earlier on, and one of my highlights now again, this is as a United fan, was watching Real Madrid comebacks against City in the quarters, Chelsea in the semis, and then obviously beating you boys in the final. That was absolutely phenomenal. That was the Champions League version of Lionel Messi winning the World Cup, because it was Benzema's destiny to lift that Champions League and to get the Ballon d'Or after the year
Yeah,
he had. It was just epic, man.
yeah, it was unbelievable. Absolutely. I had actually down there. I had down. I had a couple of things down about this. Of course, we were, the chaos that ensued in Paris with the Liverpool fans, and a lot of fan
Absolutely.
bases coming out and going, "Oh, those typical Liverpool fans again." And afterwards, we found out what happened, and it's still an ongoing investigation and all. But clearly, it wasn't us Liverpool fans. There was clearly stupidity and stupid stuff going on there. But the one thing that I had down was obviously I had Real Madrid's comeback to stun Manchester City, which was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Incredible. And then, of course, lifting their 14th Champions League crown, where it killed me, and I was devastated. And Sky Sports interviewed me and all, and I was heartbroken. But what can you do? It's not like we didn't create chances. It's not like, but we got
You
a
ran into
lesson.
Thibaut Courtois on a good night as well, didn't you?
We ran into Thibaut Courtois on a very good night, and
Yeah.
Vinicius had a very good night, and a lot of things went their way that was really really good and stuff like that. So that takes a few of mine out there. I also had Benzema winning the Ballon d'Or, of course, was was
Yes.
was very cool. I had Senegal's win in the Maiden African Cup of Nations, which I thought
Yes.
was really cool as well. Um, let's talk Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland has come into the Premier League and he has set the league alight. He's an absolute
Oh
monster.
God. Do you know my biggest problem with this
Go on.
is that he plays for Man City, and I absolutely love the kid.
Yeah.
Like, I love him, and it kills me because I'm like, I should hate this guy, but I just can't hate him. I just love watching him. I just love seeing like the antics of Erling Haaland. He's
Now we did
just
we
like
we did see the
he's a
human side of
human
him the other day
highlight
against
reel.
Everton. We seen the human side of him against Everton the other day, where they put him up in the air a few
Yeah,
times, and then of course he took his revenge out and got away with it as well.
yeah,
Um,
but you know
but did
what?
but did you
He
see him
didn't.
talk?
He
Did you see him
didn't mind
talking
the
to the
battle.
defender? Did you see him talking to the defender and giving
Oh
it all
shit,
this
how's
and
we
all?
going on?
It
Yeah,
was
it was
so
brilliant.
funny, so funny.
And I
But
did,
it's
and I love the fact that like Godfrey nailed him a couple of times, and
yeah,
he got back up and he was like, "Let's go again,"
yeah,
and he was like, "Come on,
yeah.
here we," and you're like,
It's like
he
watching a Rocky
relished that.
movie. It's like watching
He
a Rocky
loved
movie.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, yeah. Well, it was like
and and
Drago,
and
wasn't
and
it?
it's not often we have good things to say about Everton, but they were exceptional the other day. In fairness,
They
they
were
did a
good. Yeah,
real
they
good
were.
job. Yeah,
Yeah.
and no one's seen that coming. Yeah, but he's been unbelievable. I mean, he came in, he shattered Cristiano's record. Three hat tricks, wasn't it, in three consecutive home games, wasn't
Uh-huh.
it?
Yeah.
Which blew away that record and stuff like that as well. But he's just been, dare I say, a breath of
I'm
fresh air in the league.
I'm going to get to see him firsthand on Saturday week.
Yeah.
I'll be at the Manchester Derby, myself and David. David Dent, who's usually in the comments, myself and
Yeah.
David are going to the Derby on the 14th. And yeah, like I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, you've been playing well and picking up results and stuff like that, and seeing Rashford back to his best is great. But I'm absolutely living to see Haaland. I have to say, what's he coming in with now? Probably Kenny's win over
I don't
Lithuania
even know if I
March
can.
solid. His highlights.
How do we even read that out? Like, good lord, probably Kenny's win over Lithuania, March 29th, a solid 1-0. This lad's gold, isn't he? Check it, guys. Check out Morris's channel as well. This stuff is gold, absolute gold.
He's not a fan of Stephen Kenny's, is he? Tell you what.
No, not at all.
Do you know what? He hates Stephen Kenny as much as I hate Cristiano Ronaldo. He really does.
And that will be proven.
That will, yeah, we'll touch on that later.
Absolutely, we'll touch on it without a doubt. Couple of things from the European scene, I suppose. Gerard Piqué bid a goodbye to Barcelona. Very, very emotional.
What a career!
As you can imagine. What a career! Unbelievable. We spoke about it at the time.
Doing all right off the pitch as well, Niall, Gerard Piqué, Shakira, and all that, you know.
Well, he was. It's not anymore. Sure, it's not.
Well, he traded it in for Pedri's ma or Gavi's ma. Who was it?
Yeah. I don't think
I
don't think Gerard Piqué may look back fondly on 2022. He's made a couple of bad decisions. In fairness, you know. It was funny that happened actually, and word broke about that, and then I seen Shakira. She was on a show in America, and I was saying to myself, "Is this lad mad? This one is as stunning as she was when she broke onto the scene. Incredible. She's like a fine wine. She's not aging at all."
She's now Jennifer Lopez.
Morris is in here. There was a bet earlier in the season, wasn't it? What's the bet? Brighton and Forest. Yourself and Morris had a bet between Brighton and Forest.
Yeah, we had a bet. The bet is myself and Morris actually have this in our private chat, Morris. And the bet is from the time of when we spoke, whoever has the most points between now and the end of the season. So I think with that Forest point, we're pretty close, Morris. Because obviously we only went from when the bet was made, if that makes sense. And at that stage, Brighton had a lead in the league table. But yeah, no, I'm happy enough with Forest at the minute.
Acers in the comments.
Tipping along.
City will tear United a new asshole at Old Toilet. Do you reckon this guy's not a Manchester United fan at all?
I reckon a lot of things about this guy, but covering himself under a cloak and a dagger, isn't he?
Morris wants to know what's the conditions. He was wondering what the bet was.
It was who had more points by the end of the season. And if I won, Morris had to wear a United jersey on his podcast. And if he won, I had to wear an Arsenal jersey on this podcast.
Okay. All right.
But it was who had more points from the date. Oh, don't worry, Morris. I'll root that conversation out now, pal. I got you covered, brother.
Right, where do we go from here? I was going to talk Ronaldo, but we'll leave that to last, will we? For good reason.
Sure, we can talk Ronaldo.
Oh, we'll talk Ronaldo then. Well, I suppose we'll have to talk. Let's talk about Ronaldo first of all. Not attending pre-season. Somewhat trying to undermine the manager, which wasn't going to happen.
You know when you asked me for highlights and lowlights, and I was
combination of the two.
No, I was making my highlight section. I was making my lowlight section, and when I was writing it in, was typing in for lowlights. I wrote finding out Ronaldo was related to Angel Di Maria.
Okay.
Another little rat-faced, you know what?
Okay. So then we got.
I'm going to play in the Champions League because I can still compete. You couldn't compete with an air hostess, you absolute tranny. What are you talking about? I'm not going to Saudi Arabia. I don't need the money. Give me 3.2 a week. I'll be there with bells on the back of a camel. You absolute
Now,
Degenerate.
before we go any further, if me or you were made that offer, we'd be going to Saudi Arabia. So let's not throw,
Yeah,
let's
but
not
don't
throw
forget.
shine.
Yeah, but me and you haven't got what he has in the bank either.
Yeah, but that
You know.
doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. When you get to
No,
that
don't know
level,
about that now.
when you get to that level, you can never have enough. That doesn't matter.
No, I don't. I don't
When you
agree
get
with
to
that.
that level. Well, it's
Are
not
you telling
because
me Are you telling me he couldn't have gone back to Sporting Lisbon and played for free and tried to cement his legacy with his boyhood club? Come on now. Come on now,
he
Noel.
he could, but if I was going to do that, or I was going to go to Saudi Arabia for 2 years and earn $500 million, I might do that and then go to Sporting Lisbon. It's a lot of cheddar, Darren. It's a lot of cheddar. Brutus the Barber. Now, before you get into that, don't go there yet. Before we go there, Brutus the Barber, we're going to talk about the Piers Morgan interview that came out, which was absolutely crazy. You know this is going to happen, isn't it? You
It's
should have
going
got the
off soon.
shears. You know the shears.
This is going off real soon, Noel. This is going off. We'll talk about the interview. Let's talk about the interview. First of all, if you're sitting down to have an interview with Piers Morgan, you're already losing the argument. Because even as Morris will attest it, Piers Morgan is the lowest of the low, and he's an Arsenal fan. So Morris doesn't want to piss on too many Arsenal fans, but I'm sure he's got no problem pissing on Piers Morgan. What
Yeah,
an absolute degenerate.
Morris is saying, okay, and if it's a draw, we can go to an Ireland game with a Kenny out banner. That'd be well up for the crack.
That's that's what he asked for in the conditions. I have all this in text message. He asked for. He said he said I'll tell you what. He said if you win, he says I'll go to an Ireland game with a Kenny out thing on me and all like this, a hoodie or a t-shirt or the whole shooting match. Yeah, he's not behind the door and coming forward there, Morris, about this.
Yeah, this is one I'm not in on this one. You two obviously are. What do you think of Rashford's earring?
He's so yeah. I'm so not a fan. It's scary.
Yeah,
I
haven't.
said that I did you see it?
No.
So we play Wolves. He gets the
Yeah,
slap on the hand over being late,
yeah. Slap
puts
it
him
out.
onto the bench. Or he
Yeah.
slap it out. Happens to best of us. He was late, took the slap on the hand. I'm having a back and forth with Morris before the game. I said, you know what? This could be a huge thing for United. I said, if Rashford can come on, now this was all before the game kicked off. I said, if Rashford can come on and get the winner, right? Take the slap on the hand, eat it up, eat the humble pie up, right? And go on and do the right thing and score the winner. I said, with Ronaldo gone out the door and Maguire warming the bench, we could end up with Rashford here as maybe a number two to Bruno. Because he's starting to lead by example on the pitch, right? So we could end up in a vice captaincy role or something like that. Bruno suspended in the next round of the cup. Now Maguire more than likely plays against Charlton because I think we can just about play him against Charlton and get through the game. But if Maguire doesn't play, you have the option of maybe a Rashford because Ten Hag might decide to reward him and say, listen, you made your mistake, you took your slap in the hand, you got us the victory, and we go for it. But he comes out after the game, and like it was, 10, 15 minutes after the final whistle, and he's got this earring in his ear. And it's like a stud with a diamond cross dangling out of it down here. Just one of them.
Oh, this is
I
Shawn
thought,
Michaels.
this, right? Marcus Rashford, like a full diamond one. I'm like, the whiff of Paul Pogba and Jesse Lingard off this is fucking ridiculous. Somebody in it, Casemiro needs to be in that dressing room and just grab him by the ear and be like, come here, pal, come here. Because Casemiro's come out this week and spoke very, very highly about Rashford, about how surprised he is at the level that he's at. You know, because I assume when you're at other clubs, you think, that guy's a good player, that guy's a good player. He's not a bad player. He said he's watching Rashford. He's like, this kid has absolutely everything. He's all the talent in the whole world, but he's making decisions like this, wearing a stupid earring after the game against Wolves. Get rid of the earring, Marcus. You're there to play football, not to act like you're a bleeding fashion icon. You absolute donut.
Acer's back in the comments.
Stick to feeding kids, will you, Marcus? It's better for you.
Newcastle will draw with Arsenal tomorrow. What you thinking on the game tomorrow?
I think that's wrong. I think Newcastle are going to beat Arsenal tomorrow. Arsenal's second defeat of the season comes tomorrow night at the hands of Newcastle. That's my plug.
If there was any pie, Shaw would have had it. That leads us on nicely, actually, because we did have a good guest during the year. Came on, the pie man himself, Shaw, came on. and gave us a great interview.
Hang
Going
on,
through.
I'm not done here.
Oh, sorry, we skipped there. We skipped. Sorry, go ahead. Do your thing, as they say. Do your thing. Now, before you do this, just explain to people you're not doing this because it doesn't fit anymore because you've had a good Christmas
No.
or anything like that.
It fits. It fits.
It fits good
But
now.
if you're going to degrade my club, I'm going to desecrate you, Cristiano. You weren't that good. Neither were Portugal. Yeah? You're a one-trick pony, as Eamon Dunphy would say. You're a show pony, and you're only down for one thing, and that's your own game. You little creep. So take it to Saudi Arabia and enjoy yourself. I wouldn't wipe me arse with it now. You mongo.
Scored a cracking goal the other night to win. See his header the other night in Saudi. Cracker. Just saying.
He got up between two camels, did he?
Now Nick Cummins must be having a massive meltdown with Spurs results.
Jesus Christ. Is our friend Graham?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it is. He's a cod according to Eamon. He's a cod according to Eamon.
He's dead right. You're dead right, Ted. That's our boy Ted. Retrotainment on the slab. Good man, Ted. We might put Ronaldo on the bleeding slab. Don't know.
Morris loving it. Nice.
That's the second bit of t-shirt action we've had this year. Remember earlier on the year I took my t-shirt off? I was getting all hot and bothered.
Before we opened up our OnlyFans page.
Yeah. You'll get me on OnlyFans.
Shout out to Mandy Rose. We didn't do near as good as you.
And $1 million in December.
Oh, I tell you.
No wonder she pulled off NXT. She'll have a year's salary made by WrestleMania.
Yeah, I can't imagine me wanting to do headlocks and take bumps in that situation. Let's talk about the World Cup then. Let's get and talk about this fabulous World Cup that unfolded. We have to talk, of course, about Saudi Arabia, that big win that they had. Obviously, Japan as well, and then Morocco, of course, who shocked the world. Thoughts?
Oh, it was just unbelievable. I think, with the way the World Cup started and stuff like that, and the cloud behind it and things like that.
Can't believe he cut the white jersey.
with the cloud that was kind of attached to the World Cup at that stage, it was obviously going to be very, very difficult. But we all got behind it. The action on the pitch was just unbelievable. It really was. My two, other than I suppose Messi getting his hands on the trophy, my two standouts for the World Cup were the Dutch free kick. I still just think about that on a daily basis, and I just think, wow, Sean Dyche must be absolutely snapping somewhere.
Absolutely.
I bought Wout Weghorst into Burnley to save us from relegation, and he couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo until he decided to show up in a World Cup quarter final and pretend he was the real Ronaldo, the R9, with a couple of goals against Argentina. My God, epic! Unbelievable! What a game of football that was. That was just unbelievable. Argentina and Holland. What a battle.
Yeah, I don't remember a World Cup where you had so many comebacks and so many underdogs and just this wave of football that came through. And again, it was written in the stars because it all started out with this wave of all the human rights and the migrant workers and all this kind of stuff. And the BBC boycotted the opening ceremony, and there was so much negativity. And then what happened was we got a festival of football, and then when it came to final day, it was set there, and they tried to revitalize all these other issues to bring the final down as if like it had worked out really, really well, and we wanted it to fall on its arse, but it didn't, and all that kind of thing. So it was interesting.
Brilliant.
But yeah, it was a sensational.
I can't remember enjoying a World Cup as much as I did this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Acer's in the comments there. He's saying, shame that AJ will be missing WrestleMania with a broken ankle. He broke his ankle, did he? I hadn't seen it now. He's broke his ankle, AJ, has he?
I
AJ
didn't see
Styles?
that either.
I didn't
Must have been
see
the
it,
house
right?
show, was it? There's a
Not sure.
oh, forward to Wrestle King. There's a there was a holiday tour going on. I've seen some of
Mm,
the lads are making their way down to the ring with Santa hats and bits and bobs and stuff like that. So he
mm.
might have been involved in something there, but I haven't seen that. And to be honest with you,
Yeah.
we'll find out on Raw tonight, I'm sure.
Here's a man who has joined us on a couple of occasions, Kyle Walsh Gunner. How are you, my friend? Happy New Year and all that. Came on to discuss Arteta. This was a man who gave us a hard time about Arteta, I remember. The Puller finish, Niall. I don't know. Don't know. Another sprinkling of signings there and a kick up the arse of the field and we'll be grand. Mane, a massive loss. Mane's a massive loss in any team. Midfield finished. Bar Thiago. Van Dijk not the same since the injury against Everton. Yeah, definitely a bit of struggle there. All right, yeah. What would you do?
Van Dijk's been a massive letdown, I have to say.
Yeah,
Really, really
absolutely.
has. You know, like don't forget, at one stage we were billing him as, you know, the premier centre back in world football, and I just think, you know, he's really, really struggled to gain that form again since he's come back. Now, listen,
Yeah.
Liverpool haven't been firing on all cylinders either. Let's not
Yeah.
forget that. I saw somebody earlier on Facebook was like, "How do we get Mane back?" And I was like, "Unless he's playing in the back line, it's not going to make much difference to his look." Do you know what I mean? Because
Mm.
that whole back line, they're going to have a look at. Like we've spoken about it before. You know me. You know my feelings about young Trent. Um, this has to be resolved. Liverpool can't you know, keep Trent in a job there at right back with this kind. This is Sunday. This is Sunday morning. This is, you know, Hackney Marshes type defending at times. You know, from a guy that has so much quality, you can't just keep letting him off the hook. He's a phenomenal footballer. Is he a defender? I don't think so because he has no defending instinct whatsoever. They're gonna have to
Mm.
find a position further forward in the team for him where he can show his quality, but he can't be a mass. He can't have that massive, you know, X on his back for the target on his back for the opposition because that's what's happening. They're targeting him week in, week out, knowing he's going to cough something up, you know, and
Yeah,
it's it's
absolutely.
it's a big trouble going
Should
into
we
games knowing you're going to be a goal down.
we seen it in full effect tonight, sure. Yeah, so
We
Kyle back
listen.
again.
We had the same issue with Maguire.
Mm.
United had the very same issue with Maguire. At times, he was our best defender, but you knew there was something in there where he could throw in, or where he'd fumble a ball, or he'd knock off for a second, or there'd be a goal. Well, we were able to fix it. The only way we were able to fix it was you take him out of the situation. You
Or
know,
once played him as a striker.
yeah, we went long ball to
He
Harry
went
one
from
night
one
as well.
extreme
Yeah.
to the other. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, happy New Year to you as well, Kyle. Hope you had a good Christmas there with everyone and all. And sure we'll
I
toss
have a
down.
feeling Coyle is going to have a big 2023 with Arsenal. I got to be honest. I think
Absolutely.
he's going to have a big
Absolutely.
2023.
Mm. Right after you just said Newcastle are going to beat them tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't listen. I just think they've been on such a huge run, and the game against Brighton, I think, took a lot out of them. Because again, he won't make lots of changes. And I think Brighton were able to get at them. I think Newcastle have a lot of good footballers. I think Newcastle are way better at the back than Brighton are. They can keep it much tighter, and I think they could nick something against Arsenal 2-1 maybe. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. Ted in the comments saying, yeah, it was a house show for AJ. So we
for
wish him the
AJ,
best
right?
in his recovery. Morris says Steve Olsen will save Mania again. Hopefully, we wouldn't be
He's looking good,
disappointed.
isn't he?
Yeah.
Have you been watching
Acers,
him on Instagram?
yeah, he's been doing a bit all right. He's been working up
Yeah.
less IPA and more gym time by the sounds of things. Acers, I'd say Dean Fitzgerald is smashing up the gaff at Liverpool results. I presume he's talking about Dean Fitzpatrick, I would imagine.
I'd say he is. He's probably not wrong now, in fairness.
No, absolutely. Did Virgil van
Is
Dijk even
is
what?
Acers in our WhatsApp group or something that he
I,
knows what's going on
I
behind the
don't know.
scenes?
This is like a Jill membership thing or something like that. He knows. He knows. He's in the know somehow. Did Virgil van Dijk even make the World Cup team? Maguire did, and Shaw is keeping him out of the team. the fact that Maguire made the team, what does that tell you all about it? Kyle back in the comments. All good,
I
Niall, yeah.
only thought about this the other day, obviously after seeing Shaw. Like Shaw could absolutely do a job as the left-sided centre back for England. Sean Walker and then put Chilwell and Reece James outside them.
Yeah.
You know, and a solid centre back in between them. And, you know, you get rid of Maguire out of there.
Yeah, and I suppose we have to do a shout out to both men as well, both injured again. Very sad, like, because especially seeing Reece James coming off the other day again, very hard on the lad. You know, he's such a top talent.
It has to be very disheartening. You know, we've seen
Absolutely.
players go through it over the years. You know, the likes of our own Hargreaves, where it's cost them their career.
Yeah.
I suppose after a little while, you've got to start wondering, like, what do I have to do to get on the pitch here?
Yeah,
Because and I don't even believe like guys like Reece James would be happy taking the money at this stage, because I think he wants to play football, the kid. You know, and,
yeah, he's a baller, isn't he?
he absolutely
you
is.
can see it in him, and the problem with him as well is the more of this that happens, does it become a mental thing as well, and very hard to get over it. And so, if every time you go on the pitch, are you fearing the worst instead of, you know, letting your positivity flow, as they say, you know? So yeah, it's a tough one for him, all right. Yeah, all good, Niall. Kyle Walsh Gunner. Yeah, Arteta has proved me wrong, but he still has to win it, mate. If we finish outside the top two, he has to go. It's a big call.
If we finish outside the top two, he has to go.
He has to go. He wants him gone.
So if
I think Kyle has always been of the belief that either you win the Premier League or at least you're in a title race right till the death and maybe come second. Anything other than that would be seen as a failure in terms of.
But I mean, like Arsenal, let's just be very hypothetical here, because don't forget they're still away in the lead there, and you know they've games and stuff like that. I think they're going to be pretty close to this, if I'm honest, especially the way City keeps slipping up. But like if Arsenal finished third and they were 5 points behind the winning team, would you want Arteta out knowing what he's been doing with the squad and knowing that the squad is still quite bare, that you do need additions in certain places? And with those additions, you know, you get a striker in, you get another midfielder, you get another centre back, maybe whatever you get in. Like, he's making huge improvements to the club, not just the squad and not just the way they play football, but to the whole club. And you'd look to see him out. I gotta say, that's harsh now. I think that's really harsh.
You got to remember as well, if you look at Arsenal now, Arsenal have now become in the conversation. If you look, they've been linked to that loan move for Joe Felix. They're linked to the boy Mudryk, is it? Is it Mudryk?
Yeah, Mudryk, he's quality.
You know what I mean?
God, what a footballer.
So they're actually being linked to the right level of player as well now, whereas before they'd be getting linked to absolute bin. You know what I mean? So now they're in that conversation again now around a lot of
they're over looking at 17 and 18-year-old lads in Brazil paying 8 to 10 million and hoping one of them would turn out with diamond. Now they're sitting at the table and they're looking at, you know, some big players. This kid Mudryk is absolutely phenomenal. Now, phenomenal. Like, I heard Roberto De Zerbi speak about him the other day. He obviously knows him from Shakhtar and stuff like that. He says he's got all the ability to win a Ballon d'Or. Now, that's a huge shout. That's a massive shout, right? It's massive. But having seen this kid 4 or 5 times, ability is off the charts. Like, you give him a platform like Arsenal to go and play football, this kid could be huge. He really, really could. I spoke about with Morris. I think maybe if they get him in, he'll take Martinelli's place on the left, and maybe we'll see Martinelli play a little more central. You know, and give another option to Eddie and stuff like that. But I mean, it's like Arsenal are doing a lot of things right at the minute. You wouldn't want to see, you know, Arteta being shown the door because he didn't finish in the top 2. Like at the start of the season, if Arsenal were offered third, they'd have taken your hand off, don't forget. Now, obviously, when you're 16, 17 games in, you know what I mean? Right, sitting at the top table again, back in the Champions League, you know, back in for big players, the fans going the right direction and getting behind
everything going
like
well,
that.
everything positive.
Everything going well.
Positive, yeah.
Where's the issue, you know?
Yeah, Morris back in the comments. If they can beat Newcastle, they may forget a bit. If they can't beat Newcastle, they may forget winning the league. I don't know. Newcastle are good, Morris. You know what I mean?
Newcastle are a great side, man.
You know something. Do you know something? I wouldn't be even too upset with a draw there, Morris. You know what I mean? That like that's not an easy game by any means. Eddie Howe is doing a phenomenal job there at the
Listen,
moment. Newcastle are
look at,
up thereabouts as well. Remember,
don't forget, City you've just drawn at home with Everton, and just before we went the World Cup break, City lost 2-1 at home to Brentford.
Hmm.
So City have dropped, 5 points at home against Everton and Brentford. Now, if Arsenal win those games, that sticks them back up ahead of them, and City still have to play Newcastle as well, and that won't be easy either.
Yeah, the
So
funny thing is, you said when you look at it, actually, City look like they're more inclined to drop points than what Arsenal do.
right now, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Acer's back in the comments. City will destroy Chelsea on Thursday and Sunday. Interesting one. And Morris back in the comments. He reckons Newcastle will fall away, lads. I don't know. I think a couple of signings in January as well. We spoke about it, Darren, and
Yeah,
they look a solid unit there. And Eddie's very
Eddie's doing a
clever player
phenomenal job.
procurement as well.
Eddie is doing an unbelievable job. Really, really is.
Ted's back in the
I,
comments as well. Make sure you check out Ted's channel as well, Retrotainment. Cracking channel. Newcastle are a very strange one, as I wouldn't say there is many world stars there, but they grind out those results. I don't know. They've a nice sprinkling of talent there.
I think they've a lot of really, really good footballers. I know what Ted is saying. There's no standouts. But when you look like the boy Almiron's a smashing footballer. The lad Joe Linton's a good footballer. When he's fit, Wilson's a finisher. And the boy Bruno Guimaraes, excellent. They've got workhorses in there with the likes of Willock and Longstaff. They've a smashing goalkeeper in Nick Pope. The fullbacks, Trippier's still one of the best right backs in Europe for me. Botman's been excellent. Shar's been excellent. They're very, very good. Again, with Newcastle, the squad's a little bit bare. But for Newcastle, I mean, if they could secure a Champions League spot, what would it do for them? You've got the added. We know the money is there behind the scenes for Newcastle. The issue with Newcastle is being able to put their money to the forefront. Now, Champions League gives them a huge opportunity to do that because they can come in with all these sort of sponsorship deals. They can go naming rights on the stadium. They can go TV rights. They can do this, that, and a brand new hat. Throw a load of that Saudi money at it. Sign 4 or 5 big players in the summer and be in the hunt for a title next year. Massively.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think they're going to fall away.
No.
Yeah, Ted, we kind of agree with you. You look at Newcastle and you look at the team every week on paper, and it doesn't jump off the page at you. But when you see them play together as a team, they really work well as a unit, and that's Eddie Howe's coaching, which is absolutely phenomenal. Morris back in the comments as well. Villa are one to watch under Emery. Absolutely, Emery's a cracking manager. I know things have worked out well so far with Arteta and stuff like that, but he got a real bad deal at Arsenal, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did. I think that, listen, when you go to those big clubs, if things don't go very, very well straight away, it can be difficult to turn it around. You're not necessarily given the amount of time that people deserve. And we know Emery's a super coach. Oh, he has been, seriously. Done phenomenal stuff with Sevilla and Villarreal and stuff like that. Basically owned that Europa League for a couple of years. He did. Got a stiff one at PSG as well. But I think the Villa job's the right kind of job for him to put himself back in the shop window for another big team. And I think, obviously, if you look at Villa the other night, looked a totally different team. Under Emery against Spurs. I still think Villa, we look at all the injuries they have. When I looked at the Villa team the other night, I kind of looked and went, where's this guy? Oh, he's not there. This guy. I was 5 or 6 players in, and they're all out injured. And I'm going, what are these going to be like when everyone gets back fit? This Villa squad's not bad at all. It's really, really not. And when he gets everyone back fit, the boy Diego Carlos, obviously he was one of our marquee signings in the summer and stuff like that, to get Martinez back in goal. There was the boy Jacob Ramsey, lots of good footballers in there. Along with what they have on the pitch, Kamara and Buendia and Coutinho and McGinn and Cash and Luca Digne, and all of a sudden you're like, Jesus, he's got some talent here, and tactically they'll be excellent. So if they get good players in playing under Emery with how good he is tactically, Villa will do very well.
Dare I say, I look at their bench at times and I'm jealous. I'm a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
What can I say? Yeah, so that kind of the World Cup and Messi and all that, that was sensational and stuff like that. So I suppose we'll round it out, of course. We lost a great man, Pele, 82 years of age, and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah,
And we knew it was coming, and there was talk of it during the World Cup, and there was talk, there was talk that maybe he was recovering a little bit and stuff like that, and then not sure whether we believed it or it was hope and stuff like that. And then the videos, of course, came out. I'm sure you've seen the videos of him in the bed. He looked really, really bad, and he was saying goodbye to people on the phone. I don't know if you've seen these videos that came out. Um,
I didn't see
yeah,
any
there
of
was
them.
a video came out and he was in the bed and he was hooked up to all sorts of stuff, and there was someone there holding a phone like this, so the phone was up to him. He was looking at the phone, and it was like, I don't know, I'm not too sure you could make out whether he was conscious or not, but it was like he was saying goodbye to everyone, and it was absolutely heartbreaking. You know what I mean? And to see the outpour of emotion and support, and you know the celebration of his life and all this kind of stuff and the things he did. And we did a show on it on Thursday. I did a show, and when it broke that he had passed away, I had to run and sort of dissect the show down and devote nearly the third of the show to him and his legacy and all the records that he broke and the teams he played for, and the fact that he never played in Europe. And he had also said as well at one stage that he would have loved to play for Real Madrid and don the white jersey.
Yeah,
Um, which is kind of it's amazing to think this guy reached so many heights. And I spoke about it on the podcast as well, that he's listed even in his Wikipedia as a footballer and a humanitarian, which I thought was really fitting for the guy as well. But
absolutely.
it was crazy to think that he never made that leap, because you think of so many South American players that come over to Europe and their
Yeah,
only goal is to don that jersey of Barcelona or Real Madrid. It's like a rite of passage nearly, isn't it?
and I don't think it was for the want of teams trying and stuff like that. I know I heard as well that there was United had an interest in him at one stage and were trying to get him over under some at Busby and stuff like that, and it didn't. He said, "No, no, I'm happy where I am," and stuff like that. And he seemed to be a bit of a homebird and liked his comforts and stuff. We know obviously he brought soccer to the USA in the at the end of his career and stuff like that. But
Cosmos, yeah.
just just what a footballer. And I think players can kind of transcend generations and stuff like that. We'll see it in years to come when kids talk about Messi and Ronaldo, and they didn't kind of see them play firsthand type thing. My dad, he used to talk to me about Gerd Muller and Johan Cruyff and Franz Beckenbauer and Pele, and that's
Eusebio, and
yeah,
all
and
those players. Yeah,
Puskas and
yeah,
guys like that. And that's who I was kind of. That's how because I'd come in and I'd be like, "Oh, did you see such and such a player? He's a baller,"
mm,
and my dad be like, "Come back to me when he's Eusebio. Come back to
yeah,
me when come back to me when he's
mm,
Pele. Come back to me when he's such and such a player, and you'd be going, who, what, like that." And then obviously when we get to the technological era that we're in now, and you're able to look back at some of these lads, and because obviously, other than watching videotapes or something being on the TV, we didn't get to
mm,
see a lot of them after their careers. Whereas
yeah,
now everything's been uploaded, it's so easy. You can click in, you can have a look at your favorite your father's favorite players over the years and see who he
mm,
enjoyed watching. And like some of the lads were absolutely unbelievable. And to think of the conditions they did it in, with the pitches being absolute horseshit to say the least, the
mm.
footballs were so much heavier, and the type of tackles that they put up
Sports
with, and the
sports science was nearly non-existent.
sport was completely non-existent.
Yeah,
Completely non-existent. The lads would go out for a few gargles and maybe a
mm,
couple of cigarettes after training on a Tuesday
mm,
afternoon, and then they'd be back in on a Wednesday, and all of this kind of thing was going on. But when they pulled those boots on and pulled that jersey on for a match day, they were just able to become
switch
like
it on.
superhuman almost, and
Yeah,
and it's very sad that you're getting to an era where I heard of a lot of these guys as I was growing up, and then, you lose a Gert Muller, or you lose a Pele, or you lose a Maradona, and then you're going, how many of these lads around anymore? And And then you kind of start hearing about the next generation because we'll start talking more about guys. We'll talk more fondly of Zidane, and we'll
mm,
talk more fondly of Ronaldo Nazario and stuff like that, and we'll talk about those kind of guys over the next few
mm,
years. And then it'll get to a stage where what we'll talk about will be Messi and Ronaldo and Neymar's and Kylian
mm.
Mbappe's and all, and it's funny
Erling
how the
Haaland,
circle just
Erling
keeps
Haaland, of
Erling
course. Yeah,
absolute.
yeah,
We're going to talk lots about this kid,
mm,
we really
yeah.
are. And it's funny the way the circle just keeps turning. It's like guys get on the Ferris wheel or the merry-go-round and they go all the way around, and when they get off, eventually the name goes back on it and you start hearing all about their records that people are breaking 20, 30, 40 years later, and
Mm.
it's sad because it's evolution and you can't stop it and stuff like that. But we've been
Yeah,
very,
it's
very lucky to see some amazing footballers. Like,
isn't it mad to think that within a time frame, like you've thousands of footballers,
yeah,
but generally the ones that you think of as being those absolute superstars, you count on one hand. Yeah, you've thousands of footballers, like, you know what I mean?
yes,
It's really, really crazy when you think about it. Like, it's
yeah. No, it
that,
does.
as you
It
said,
does.
that
It
that
always comes back.
transcends football. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
If you're lucky and you're really lucky, you'll get to 10. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But you think about it, you're talking about a pool of over 1,000 footballers, probably, if you think about it worldwide. And every
and the rest.
generation we get about 10 or more, yeah. And
Yeah,
as a generation we get about 10 that come through, that
yeah.
transcend the business and are so much more. It's a
But I
madness,
mean,
really.
we like we talk about it as wrestling fans, don't we? Who's on your Mount Rushmore?
Mm,
Who's those four? And everyone's probably got a small difference. You might have Shawn Michaels, I might have Stone Cold, someone else has The Rock, Cena, Hogan, Undertaker, Flair. You just.
mm,
But there's a core group of guys that it's never going to be outside of them. It's always going to be those 5, 6, 8, 10 guys, and it's the same with football.
mm,
It's always those mega stars, and Pele was probably the first mega star that we've ever had.
yeah.
He was the first guy that
Mm,
kind of brought football to the masses.
mm,
And even the way he was able to go and capture, you know, soccer with the cosmos and stuff like that. Like that was unheard of in the States until Pele arrived. You know what I mean? It was non-existent, so to speak, and he was able to put it on the
yeah.
map, and it's gone from strength to strength, and now you see a lot of players making the Pele move late in their career.
Mm,
Let's go to the States. Let's push the profile. Yeah, it's a payday for us, absolutely, but let's do a little bit for football because football's done a lot for us, and I suppose he was a trendsetter and he paved the way in more than one way,
yeah, absolutely. It's a good way to kind of round out the show. I'll finish off with some comments. Acers reckons Palace will beat Tottenham. That's not a wild shout, really.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I was gonna
That's a
say that's
decent
probably
shout.
an odds on.
And Ted's back in. Went into Dublin years ago when he was doing a book signing years ago. Didn't get a chance to meet him as the queue was just so insanely massive, as I can imagine. And I was young and in a rush to do everything. Yeah, absolutely. Um,
It's a cool story though, Ted.
yeah, absolutely. And then
You
Acer's
know.
back in. It's so ridiculous that Pele scored 2 goals in World Cup finals, only 17 years old, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Uh,
like if you're 17 years of age and scoring a couple of goals in a World Cup final for Brazil tomorrow, what are you worth?
yeah. Mm,
Bare minimum 100 million. Real Madrid have just shelled out 63 million on the boy Hendrick, and he's 17 and he's barely played games in the Brazilian league. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's gone on.
So to have a guy like Pele who was an international and was scoring goals on the world scene at that stage, you'd be naming your price type thing, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine what Pele would have been worth in this market. The other thing that probably would have happened as well is he probably would have never gotten away with not coming to Europe. He would have come to
No,
Europe,
he
wouldn't
wouldn't. Well, I mean, financially, he wouldn't have had a choice, I don't think, because of
he? Yeah.
what's on offer over in Brazil and in
Mm,
comparison to what's on offer over here now.
yeah.
I think back in the day, he'd have probably done all right for himself with Santos and stuff like that.
Mm.
because that we didn't have a Premier League, we didn't have a Champions League, we didn't have TV money, rights deals, all of that.
Yeah.
I'm making the assumption that what he earned in Brazil was as good as what the top players in England were earning, I would imagine. And maybe it was more even because football was so big over there then. Because don't
Mm.
forget that's the era of River Plate and
Boca
Boca
Juniors.
Juniors,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
Flamengo and Palmeiras
Yeah.
and all these big huge clubs
Mm.
and that's so maybe he was doing even better and he thought what, I don't need to leave the country.
Mm.
I'm being very well looked after here and I can stay with my family and stuff like that and I can keep the nice I can keep the nice weather and the sun on me back and stuff.
Imagine if we had had a chance to see him play in the Champions League or in the Premier League or something like that, or the old Division One or whatever it was, would have been sensational. Imagine you were going over and you had the opportunity to see him play and stuff like that. Would have been sensational, I'd say.
It's something and I always obviously I'm a United fan, but I'm absolutely a football fan and I love football. And when we obviously United we drew Juve in our group a few years ago in the Champions League, and Ronaldo was playing there. So I was like, well, you know what, I got to get to that game. And then we had PSG in the knockouts, and it was Neymar, and I was like, well, I got to get to that game. And we knocked them out. And then we got Barca, and we had Messi, and I was like, right, got to get to that game. So we seen Ronaldo, Neymar, and Messi in the space of 6, 8, 10 weeks, and I just wanted to be there. And I'd seen Messi and I'd seen Ronaldo before, obviously, but I was like, you know what, I want to see them again. I want to put guys, and say I've seen the best players of all time, the Messis, the Neymars, the
Yeah.
Ronaldos, those kind of guys. I'm genuinely, even as a United fan, really looking forward to seeing Haaland on Saturday week. And I know
Mm.
United fans are probably like, why would you be happy to see that guy? He's an absolute superstar. He really is. He's an absolute superstar. He's gonna be one of the biggest names in world football for the next 10 years plus.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're a football fan, you want to see those guys. I want to be able to tell my kids and my grandkids, oh, I saw this guy, I saw this guy. I've seen Xavi and Iniesta play as a pair. I've seen like some great footballers.
Mm.
Oliver Kahn, Manuel Neuer, Gigi Buffon, all of these guys that I would have gone, oh my god, these guys are amazing. They're the guys like I don't get over a whole lot when it's United Watford or United Swansea. I don't bother the trip. I wait till
Mm.
the really big game. And people will be like, yeah, but you're not going to see a win all the time. Yeah, but I'm going to see good football and I'm going to see some absolute superstars. And that's
I
what it's
love
about for me.
I love the way you name off these superstars that you see, but you finish it with the goalkeepers. It's priceless.
Well,
Because
for me,
they don't
it's
get mentioned enough. They don't get mentioned enough, and they were
no, and
absolutely
like
amazing.
with me being a
Yeah.
keeper as well, that I
Mm.
would have always. I think the first time I went to Old Trafford, I United won, and I didn't see any of the goals.
Mm.
Because I stood watching Peter Schmeichel for 94 minutes, and I watched every single thing. And like he used to do this thing. So before kickoff, what he would do is he would go over and touch his posts. He would touch one of his posts, and then he would touch him across the middle of his crossbar. Then he would touch his opposite post. And I think I watched him on a Saturday, and the following Sunday, I did that to me posts, and I did that for probably 10 to 15, maybe 20 years while I played football. I only did it because Peter Schmeichel did it. I didn't know what he was doing. I know I'd seen this guy do it, and I went, he's the best in the world. If he does this, I can give this a try. And you go over and you touch your post and be just like, I need you today, lads, and you touch your bar, and then you go the other side, and people will be looking at me going, what's this headbanger doing? But you
Yeah,
see things and you pick stuff up.
it's like the way teams get into a huddle and they try and G each other up. These were like
He,
his little buddies, I suppose, really, that he was
they,
G'ing up
well, he
to
was
them.
like, he's saying to the post, like, I need you on my side today, lads. And
And it
and he
worked
was
many a
always
time. It worked many a time.
sure did, sure
Hard to
did.
argue with it.
Yeah, yeah. It's mad though. You pick up these things off like from watching. I missed all. I think we won 3-0, and I missed all three goals. I had to watch them on Match of the Day, and my dad was like, "What do you mean you missed the goals?" And I was like, I was looking at Schmeichel, and he was like, "Jesus Christ." He's like, "Are you all right?" But that was my bag. Like that was
Yeah.
That was my. That's what
Absolutely.
I wanted to be like. Peter Schmeichel was the absolute grail when I was a kid. Like, I was just like, my God, this fella's ridiculous.
Our
You
heel
know,
is back. Pele never hit the. I presume he means the heights of Cristiano, but certainly a legend. And Acers is back in again. Neville and Carragher were so brilliant tonight. Argument over Liverpool selling the club. Priceless entertainment. Absolutely, they do play off each other
does
brilliantly.
Morris want any toilet paper? Any toilet paper, Morris? Loads of it here. You get a few days out of this. It's a good size.
Well, with that note, it's been an absolute pleasure. Good to have you back on again. We will be
Good to
back
be back, man.
Thursday. Thursday we will be back. We'll have an FA
I'll
Cup
be back
preview,
Thursday.
and Darren will be back Thursday.
I'll be back Thursday.
Acers is saying you should burn it.
Yeah, I might, or I might just throw it outside and let the dog finish it off.
Morris says eBay job.
Do you know what might be nice? We can
Comes,
do it before.
comes with video evidence.
Yeah, you know what we'll do, right? So there you can see it there. Look, get through was number 7 there. What we'll do is I'll give it to my darling Roxy tonight, my beautiful black Labrador. And what I'll do is I'll let her do a number of it tonight. She might decide to rip it. She might decide to shit in it. She might decide to. You don't know what this dog is going to do to this. And I'll put a picture in the comments for everybody. Yeah, what it looks like at the end.
Nice. Anyway, a pleasure having you back on. It was nice looking back at the year 2022. We don't often get a chance to do these type of shows where we can just kind of spitball and talk about what went on rather than the structure of our shows. We will be back Thursday. We'll have an FA Cup special beat the bookie, also an FA Cup preview, and we will be talking, Darren, transfers. Transfers window is back open. Me and you towards the end of the month will be donning the white and yellow, the white and gold again.
We sure will.
Our deadline day and stuff like that. So
we'll have our toy on, won't we?
Soon to be a very interesting transfer window. I think a lot of business could be done in this window. It's going to be very interesting.
You know, I think there's a lot of teams in positions that, you know, there's a lot of teams in positions like if you look at a team like Forest, they're going to want to bring in a couple to try and get themselves out of it. I think Southampton's, you know, teams like that will want to try and get out of the little bit of trouble they're in. Wolves again, and I think that then starts the merry-go-round effect where, you know, the bigger teams, Arsenal want to try and hold on. You know, Liverpool are probably going to want to do something. United, Spurs. I think there's going to be lots of action in the transfer window. I think you're right. I think we could see a record number of transfers made. I don't necessarily think there's going to be huge money spent, but I think there could be a record number of transfers made, trades, you know, free agencies, all that kind of thing, loan deals, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I think what's happened is everyone got roasted in the summer price wise, and I think there's been a bit of a reality check in the market, and I think January could see some of the fees being dampened down somewhat. But we shall see.
Not if you're buying Argentinian central midfielder though.
No. Morris, Chelsea will be in the market for a manager. Oh God! I'm wondering will Morris take Potter at Arsenal? He might be interesting.
If Chelsea dipped their toe in and took Arteta, would Morris be happy with Graham Potter? Morris, let us know in the comments. Would Potter do for you? Potter ball.
Yeah, we shall see.
The boy Cachado. You could get Danny Welbeck as well. Get him back to the
Danny Welbeck.
Cachado, Danny Welbeck. You could keep Ramsdale. I don't think he'd punt for Sanchez if he had Ramsdale. I think Ramsdale is decent enough.
Doesn't want him.
That's a hard
no. Want him. Doesn't want him. That's a definitive answer. No. Right. Till next time. It's been the Upper Tier Podcast. Of course, subscribe, hit the bell notification, like the video on the way out. Happy New Year to everyone in the chat, and a big Happy New Year to all our subscribers and viewers and anyone who has helped the channel grow. We're looking forward to 2023 where we might push that milestone up to where we need to be. We're just over halfway.
What's the goal, Niall? Do we want 1,000?
We need 1,000 at least. We need over 1,000, but we need to.
So we're at. I logged in earlier on. We're at 550. Yeah.
Yeah, around that. Yeah.
550. So we need 1,000. So the goal is we need everyone that's in here tonight and that watches us and subscribes to us. We need them pushing this out on their socials for us. If one person out of 100 likes it, we'll get a few more likes. And every week we need to grow. And this time next year, we want to be sitting here with over 1,000 in the bank. What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The struggle is real. The struggle is real. So we need
We'll
everyone's
keep
help.
we'll keep knocking on that door now, and eventually someone's gonna open it.
Yeah. Eventually, you'll throw that third dart and hit a 180. Has to happen eventually.
Yeah.
Until next time, a pleasure. We will be back on Thursday. I'll also be back during the week with a Shankly Sessions for my sins, doing a preview for the Wolves game.
Jesus.
Could we about to be dropping our second domestic cup to Wolves?
My
Who
God.
knows? Good Lord, it's going to be a long season.
That
And then, of
wasn't
course,
Carabao, is it?
now Wolves, we're out of Carabao. We've got Wolves in the FA Cup coming up, and then of course we've Real Madrid, a double header coming up on the horizon as well shortly as well. So
Jesus
it's
Christ.
going to be a big one, isn't it? Until next time, folks, we'll talk to you real soon.